Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Move Me to Texas team. Today, I have another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I'm excited to welcome this week's guest. He is a real estate agent, investor, and business coach out of North Carolina. And his personal business, when you follow him on social media, you'll see kind of a specialty in video marketing and a lot of high quality video content. Outside of doing that and being a great agent and coach, he's also a husband and father. Some might say that he has the best mustache in real estate, but that will be determined in today's podcast. Please join me in welcoming Will Draper out of Raleigh, North Carolina. What's going on, man?
What's happening? Katie, thank you so much for having me here. And I do take great pride in my mustache. There's lots of grooming that goes along with it. And it's kind of become like my calling card.
I didn't think that was where we were going to focus today's podcast on, but we can definitely focus it in on that, kidding, kind of. So how long have you had the mustache?
So I brought it out just last year.
Okay.
So like at the end of last summer, like going into the fall, like I've had a
A
beard for as long
summertime
as I can remember.
mustache?
No, not quite. Like I've always had a beard, right?
Okay.
And summer got hot, and I was like, I got to trim this thing down.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I used to have like super long hair, and I
Okay.
don't anymore. Like I used to have like dreads on the end, and it just come
What?
like all the way down to my stomach, like super long hair. So
Yeah.
I always had like something going on. And when I got rid of my long hair, I was like, I got to do something with my facial hair. What am I going to do? I had like
Yeah.
chops and then like a big beard. And then I was like, you know what? I'm a dad. I wear like short shorts, like 1980s shorts.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun. It's like, what if I just go stereotypical 80s dad and do a big mustache? And I just let it go. And slowly my wife and kids were like, hey, dad, are you growing a mustache? And I was like, yes, I am. And they were like, I don't know how we feel about that. And then I had like a partial beard. Then I finally just shaved off the beard and let the
Yeah.
stash go. And my wife's like, yeah, that's cool. I like it. My kids have gotten used to it. So
Yeah.
I've had it
Yeah.
like almost like a year now. So I dig it. It's a lot of fun.
How old are your kids?
10 and 12. So my daughter's in
Perfect
middle school.
age.
So yeah, she's either horrified by what I do
Yeah.
or she thinks it's cool. It's like very borderline.
No, but perfect age to like that. If they hate it, like then it's even better, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
almost teenage years that, they're embarrassed by pretty much everything you do. So yeah, I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
try to embarrass them as much as possible.
yeah, no, that's always high quality. That's the one thing I look forward to of having a child, right? Is just all of the things that I can do to, make them hate me, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
the goal, right?
It is to a point. There was this one time, and I know we're off topic, but this is
All
funny.
good.
So I drive a Jeep, and like I had the top down, and it was they do like fun runs for kids at school, so like like donations and stuff, and they had like the local baseball team mascot in the parking lot just dancing to some music. Well, I grabbed him and threw him in my Jeep. And so it's this dude like this 6-foot costume standing up in the back of my Jeep, and I blare my music as loud as possible. And I go through carpool to pick them up. And my daughter is horrified because we're just like dancing. I have the mascot in my
Oh
car.
God.
So that's one of my proudest dad moments.
I love it. I love it. It's I remember, despite that being a long time ago for me, right, being embarrassed by my parents.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly, so I cannot wait to do that, to a child. So
Yeah.
I'll
The
have to
more
I'll have to
extreme, the
contact you for
better.
tips. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I got tons of tips.
All right. Well, let's focus this podcast is real advice. We talk and
Mhm.
interview with, real estate agents and talk about real estate. So maybe we should focus in on that. How did
Yeah.
you get into real estate, Will?
So it's a super long story, and I'll try to make it short, but it really comes back to like, it's really long, and I tend to go long. So I'll
Back
try
in
to keep it short. But
1980.
right. So there's really like two moments in time that made this happen. The first moment in time is actually me and my wife were buying a house.
Okay.
And at the time we were buying a house, I was the annoying guy that followed around the inspector. We all know that as real estate agents. Don't be that guy. You don't want your client to follow around the inspector. So I followed him around the house because we couldn't find a house. The house was kind of beat up, and I didn't know anything about renovation or nothing about taking care of a house. So we followed the inspector around. And at the end of it, I handed him a check for what, five, six, $700.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. Like you walked around the house for 2 hours, you say it's fine. It's all cosmetic, and I got to pay you $600. That was the first moment. I was like, all right, there's something going on there.
Yeah.
And then I was going through a time at my job. I worked a corporate job for like 12, 15 years, trying to climb the ladder and just get nowhere. And I was like, I paid that inspector a lot of money to walk around for 2 hours. I bet you I could do that. So I had 2 kids under 2 at the time. I quit my job and I started a home inspection company, got all the proper training, got the
Yeah.
licensing. And then I started that like early January of like 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And ran that business for 4 or 5 years. Super successful at it, but I hated it. Like crawling under houses sucks.
Yeah.
Having people yell at you sucks. Telling people, hey, this house is garbage, that all sucks. And then as I was doing this, I see a lot of these real estate agents, and some were really good and some not so good.
Yeah.
Right. And we had something happen with our kids where we had to like move like that. And that transaction was a disaster. It was like a dumpster fire, the whole thing from beginning to end. And once everything finally settled and the dust settled and we got moved into our house, finally sold the other one, this super long process, lost a bunch of money, had a like pretty hard time as a family, like with what we were going through.
Yeah.
And that process was just so terrible. Like we didn't get any education. I could go into a long thing about finances and how that's why I harp a lot of my content on finances and mortgage and really understanding what you're getting into, because we just never got that education. We're like, sure, we'll list your house. Let's go buy a house. I didn't know anything about getting pre-approvals or like contingencies. I didn't know anything about that. And so I got in a really bad situation because I got basically no advice. And I realized at that point, so that was that second moment in time, that I didn't want another family to have to go through a process and be as distraught and as stressed out as we were and not get the advice and the information. So got my license, started selling real estate, and really just wanted to serve people and make sure they were the most educated. So one thing I harp on is with my clients, it's like, if you're not willing for me to give you a real estate education, we're probably not going to be good working together, because I want to make sure you're super educated on everything that you do, because I don't want to what if come up or like a question at the last minute that's going to cause a disaster. So it's all education-based focus. And that's kind of how I got into real estate, was just 2 times in my life where I was like, I need to help people or help myself or like correct a problem that I saw.
Yeah.
That's how I'm here.
I feel like I hear that a lot of people that buy a house, and once they close on it, they realize, or they talk to someone else that had a vastly different experience. And then they're like, well, if I just did this, this, and this, then I feel as if I could, serve people better. And they kind of make the jump. It's interesting you went the home inspector route though, then into real estate.
Not normal.
No. I mean, that's not generally something people do, but I find it interesting for sure. And I think that like also from the educational standpoint, I'm sure you look at a house far differently. Like, I mean, than I do, right? But like I was talking to a client about this yesterday, right? When they were like, well, if we're looking at a rehabbed house or a renovated house, like what are the red flags? And I was like, honestly, like as we walk through it, like I'm gonna check the ages of the, appliances and water heater and AC and stuff like that. Like I will tell you if I think it's a bad flip, because there are so many of those out there. Like I won't let you get distracted by the lipstick on. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I won't let you get distracted by the shiny objects. Like we're going to look, deeper than that. But I feel like that probably just gave you a really good foundation for your clients on like, some of those red flag things that sometimes get called out on the inspection report that I feel like, as a realtor, we sometimes miss. Right.
Yeah, it definitely gives me a different perspective. And that in the beginning, that was my USP, my unique selling proposition was like, hey, I'm going to know more about this house getting into it. And that was super helpful, especially over the past 2 years when we have this like super competitive market. And I'm on the buying side and everybody's waiving inspections. And they're like, what are we going to do? It's like, look, I don't care what the house looks like. I don't care about pretty things. When we get into the house and you're like, Will, I think this is one I'd like to put an offer on. What I'm going to do is drop what I'm doing, and I'm going to go hit my major 10-point checklist. And I'm going to check around the house. I'm going to be able to let you know, hey, I see potential issues with these 3, the potential costs of these and the ramifications for you after you close are these things. So, hey, you might be looking at $25,000 in repair for things you have to fix, probably 5 or 10 that you don't have to fix. Because to be honest, in most houses, if you don't touch anything, it's still fine. It's still fine. Like that little bit of water damage you see in a crawl space, really not a big deal.
As long as it's not getting any bigger, right?
Right. It's like, if it's old, not getting any bigger. So it just gave me like a competitive advantage with my clients. And I've worked with a lot of them, and they, really appreciate that. And a lot of the agents I like mentor, like outside of like the coaching realm, like the agents of my brokerage, I mentor them and kind of teach them through that. Like, hey, here's the red flags to look out for. Here's what you want to do. Here's how to better
Yeah.
protect the consumer. That's what it's all about, is
Yeah.
protecting people.
No, that's awesome. So if you know, you had someone that was just starting out, they got their license day one, they're like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, I just hung my license at a brokerage and now I'm gonna go sell some real estate. What would be like one piece of advice you'd give to someone if they're brand new?
Oh, the one piece of advice if they're brand new. I think what I would have done was really decided what is my core marketing strategy? Who's my avatar? Who am I talking to? Who's my first type of client, right? Like
Mhm.
we all should have an avatar right now. It's just like when you're making video content or any type of other content, who are you talking to? Who's the audience? Because most people try to sell to everybody. The problem is, and everybody knows that if you try to sell to everybody, you really sell to nobody, because that's who you're for. So it's really figure out who you want to market to, and everything you do should be centered around who that target audience is. If I was, and I get this questions asked sometimes in my coaching realm, is if you got dropped in a new market,
Yeah.
what would you do to generate business? I would say I would create community-based video content. And that's what I would do. I would start with, YouTube, I would use social media, and I would use Google and blogging, kind of all three combined together, and really focus in on, okay, what are people searching for in the community online? Because everybody spends their life on this device right here.
Yeah.
So what are people looking for answers for? And then just answer those questions. And that's what I wish I would have known getting into it. When I got into it and hung my license, the brokerage was like, all right, here's realtor.com and Zillow leads. We're going to teach you how to convert and go.
Yeah.
So it got my feet wet. And I still think like those online leads and like referral based lead sources are great to get started, to build that foundation. But I wish I would have known at the time, okay, who do I need to talk to and how do I really market? Because most people get into real estate, no marketing experience, no business experience.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, real estate school is just to keep you out of real estate jail.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I wish I would have known. It's like, who's your audience, and then how to figure out how to market to that audience.
Yeah. No, and I think we see that a lot, and especially for brand new agents. I think one thing I do like about online leads and kind of the colder leads is like just getting that thick skin on the phone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that I would love if every single lead I ever received just picked up the phone and said, "Oh yeah, I'm pre-approved and I'm ready to buy," or "Hey, I'm ready to list my house and I would like for you to sell it for me." Right? But like
Mhm.
you've got to have that grit and willingness to like make the calls and continue to follow up and call someone for a year before they pick up the phone again. And that's where like, the online leads kind of, I feel like, give you that thicker skin to prepare you.
And it helps you with conversation too, because this all comes back to connecting with people in conversation,
Yeah.
and having the same questions go to 10 different people. Even if you get 10 of the same answers, the way they say it
Yeah.
can really tell you where they're going. And you just, by working so many of those online leads, you figure out, okay, conversationally, how do I keep this moving forward? Or this person's a big waste of my time.
Yeah.
Because, online leads, if you convert 5-10%, you're doing amazing.
Yeah.
And I think every agent's got to have that the first few years to really build up your chops of, one, there's a whole lot of no in this business.
Mhm.
Right. And you also have to learn follow up. They always say the money's in the follow up, and that's absolutely true, even
Yeah.
with leads that reach out to you. So you get it to a point where a lot of us are at now when the leads come in. It's
Yeah.
not like you're just like, all right, I get business. No, you still have to follow up 5 to 10 times to get the appointment, keep the ball moving forward. It's just easier once it's coming to you instead of
Inbound.
it's
Yeah.
just it's just a little bit different. But yeah, cutting my first year, 100% were online leads. 100%.
Well, and so where's your business now as far as lead pillars? Like, it seems as if you're not really leaning in on the channel partners or Zillows of the world or realtor.com. Where's most of your business come from today?
So past client sphere and referrals, and by referrals, I'm not including referrals in past client sphere. I can all that together. It's referrals from people across the country, like
Yeah.
through Tom's network and like other agents I know, connecting via social media and whatnot. But I say this to a lot of folks all the time. I think 100% of my business comes from my videos,
Okay.
because 100%, because if I'm not producing them, I'm not getting business. The more I produce video, the more I connect with people, the more that it quote unquote organically comes. Right. When I got into real estate, I didn't want to be the cold caller. I didn't
Mhm.
want to call for sale by owners and expireds. And I tried it early on. but I hated it. I really hated it. And I've always had a passion for just like being in front of the camera. I'm an ex-musician, so I always like being like out in front. And I was like, look, the more content I can create, the more video I can create, I'm probably gonna attract people that like my vibe, like my style, because I'm
Yeah.
definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But I get referrals all the time for people I haven't talked to in 15 years. Like
Hmm.
people that I've met once or twice, we've connected on social and they just follow me. They're like, oh my God, like looks like you're doing great. Here's 2 referrals. I'm
Yeah.
like, awesome. Thank you so much. Like do follow up. So it's all Sphere past clients and referral based, but it's all because of video based content that I put out.
Well, and that's something that I've been leaning in on pretty hard lately because I think that so many agents see people that are doing video content and they're like, man, you must be getting so many leads from Instagram. How many leads a day are you getting? Right. And like, I'm like, realtors are the only people in the world that like go online and I see your video and I'm like, awesome job, Will. Great tip. Right. Like, no one goes
Yeah.
on to like buy a grill and go to like the big green egg, Instagram, like, wow, what a great steak. I can't wait to reverse sear my steak. Right. Like, you don't comment, you
Yep.
just like it and move on. And so
Yeah.
you have consumers that are watching that may not reach out for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. So, you do have the consumers that are watching and lurking, right? And consuming, but not
Yeah.
actually reaching out. Then you have like your sphere that's seeing it that may or may not be reaching out. And then you've got agents that are watching it and reaching out. But like you've got kind of these 3 buckets of people that you're kind of targeting with your information or hitting with your
Yeah.
information. And that's where I think that people forget that you've got the consumers and past clients watching, and then you make content for agents and it just things kind of fall apart. And that's been something that I've been really harping on a lot lately in like video classes or Instagram classes or anything like that, because I think that we forget about the consumers and the past clients that are watching your stuff as well. So I like that you're kind of saying what I've been thinking a lot
Yeah,
lately.
I totally agree, and I think it's platform based too. Like
True.
I've been shifting over the past few months of like I recognize that like take Instagram for instance. Instagram is where my agent people are.
Yeah.
The people that I know in my sphere, I've probably got 20 or 30 that people like I actually know that are on Instagram, but they're mostly on Facebook because I am very demographic aware. I'm 41 and I've got kids. My
Yeah.
people are on Facebook. They're not on Instagram, but everybody that's a real estate agent is on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that my content on Instagram is more focused towards agents, but can give consumers a little bit of, okay, like he's smart, he's talking about all this type of stuff, but it's really geared towards agents.
Yeah.
Facebook, I will repost the stuff that's relevant to my Facebook audience, which is going to be my past clients and sphere.
Yeah.
And then I post very personal stuff. So I tell stupid dad jokes like 3 times a week. I had people text me all the time. It's like, I wake up every day just to look at your dad jokes on Facebook. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a different strategy there. And then there's a different strategy for YouTube, which is community based, SEO based. What are
Yeah.
people searching for? So I'm connecting with the people that are relocating here. So I like to use every platform very specifically, and each one gets a different mix of content. When I first started, I just create a video and post it to all the things. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll work.
Yeah.
No, every platform has a different strategy now. And I totally agree with you. You can't forget about the consumer because if you're just focused on agents, the consumer's going to move on. You've still got
Yeah.
to talk to them.
No, for sure. And I think that that's so smart. And that's actually, I was coaching someone today and I went through that because they were like, well, these YouTube videos that we're doing, they're gonna be like 10 to 12 minutes long. I'm like, do not put them on Instagram, right? Like what you are doing on Instagram is working. Like you can
Mhm.
layer in more stuff like that, but don't put that video, like, well, can it be 3 minutes? I was like, I wouldn't even do that. Like keep them on their platforms, and focus in on that. And I think also understanding where your clients are is also important, right? Like I know people that
Yeah.
kill it on LinkedIn. I don't post on LinkedIn, right? Like I know people that kill it on Facebook. My people aren't really on Facebook. Like, I found that a lot of my Instagram or a lot of my clients are on Instagram, or they like cite videos that I put on Instagram. They're like, so in this one video you said this, and then in this other video you said this. So we did this to our lights and we did this to the paint. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, cool. So like, as far as prepping their house for sale and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely helpful to understand where your clients are and like asking them like, hey, Will, what do you use social media? Like what sites are you on? And understanding kind of you always have those clients, right? Those key clients that you can ask whatever, right? Figuring
Yeah.
out
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're at and where they play.
Yeah, totally. And I've figured out over time that like my clients live on Facebook. My clients
Yeah.
live on YouTube. My clients don't live in Instagram, but
Yeah.
my referral basis is definitely on Instagram. And I feel like Instagram's almost become like a resume, right?
Yeah,
It's
for
almost
sure.
like it's like a digital business card, because when people are like, here's a perfect example. I took a lead from a friend of a friend, and they were like, yeah, we're talking to this other agent, our listing agent in such and such state. We're going to reach out to her, and she's going to look at both you guys and pick one. Well, she just looked at my Instagram profile and she was like, you've got one. It's great. This person, not so much. Go with that guy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it was worth it right there to sell $1 million house
Yeah.
for somebody. It's like,
Not
yeah, I
bad.
like your Instagram profile. Cool. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
keep making videos. Yeah.
No, that's huge. I mean, and I think it's just another extension of your website. It's just another thing
Yeah.
where people, and it's easier, right? Like I Google your
Mhm.
name, but then I have to like click through to pick which I want. Like I can just search you on Instagram and then up pops stuff that gives more insight into your personality and kind of who you
Yeah.
are. And I like that. Um, so I mean, I know you're a coach. I know, you
Mhm.
mentor agents, things like that. Um, what advice would you give to someone? Because I feel like I get people reaching out to me all the time of like, I've been looking at coaching and I really want to join. I'm just afraid to pull the trigger. Like, what advice would
Yeah.
you give to someone that wants to pull the trigger on coaching? Or if someone DMs you, what's your, maybe not sell, but what's your reasoning behind why you think they should do coaching or why it's been beneficial for you?
So I got into coaching so I have not been in the business a really long period of time. I'm kind of like you. I haven't been in it for 10, 15 years, right? I'm in year 4 right now, but in year 4, as a single agent with an assistant and support staff, I'm doing about $25 million a year in a market where the average price point is about 400. So I coach probably 60% of the time now, maybe 65, and then I do real estate the other side. So I think I'm doing okay. I came into the business, and my first year I did 19 transactions my first year, all online leads just fed to me from the brokerage with a
Yeah.
crazy, stupid, not good split. And I was essentially broke at the end of the first year. I knew how to talk on the phone at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to market. I had no clue how to market. So I'd been watching Tom on YouTube for a long time.
As
And I
we
was
all
like,
do.
okay, as we all do, right? And I was like, okay, I've been listening to his podcast when I work out. Like I go on a long run, I've listened to 2 or 3 of them. And I was like, all right, like these guys know something. They tell you the what and not the how. And a lot of those YouTube videos and then the podcast, they give you like the icing on the cake, but you got to figure out how to bake the cake, right? And I knew I didn't know how to bake the cake. So when I signed up for coaching, my business quadrupled in my first year, and it's been doubling since then. And to a point where all of the goals I thought were completely unimaginable and why I got into real estate, first of all, I accomplished within like 3 or 4 years. And it was just crazy. And it's because I had that accountability. And it wasn't because of the ideas I got from my coach. What I would do is I really dove into the ecosystem, the people like you, people like everybody that's on the Facebook group pages,
Yeah.
and just the connection of the other agents is where the real value is. And I dove into the back end where all of this stuff is in Illume. So if anybody's, part of Tom's network, they're going to understand what that is. It's the back end, all the resources, and really leveraging the people is what made me grow. And it just opened your eyes to this other world. And when my eyes were open, I could come to my coach and say, okay, here's my ideas. And they could help me harness that, because
Yeah.
otherwise I got shiny object syndrome. I could not have guardrails. And I'd be like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And coaching really helps you harness, like work on 3 things at a time, knock one off, add another, knock one off,
Yeah.
add another. And it's always perpetually in that growth mindset. And I wanted to grow before coaching, but I didn't really understand what growth mindset meant and how to make it actionable and achievable. And that's what coaching did for me. It put the guardrails on, helped me focus on, okay, what do I want to do? How do I do it? Let me leverage the people in the ecosystem to help me grow, because it's a very supportive network. And that's really what led me to wanting to become a coach. Is it helped me so much. I know if I can do it, anybody can. I'm not special, right? I am not special in any way. I'm just an average dad. And if I can become as successful as I've been, I want to be a help other people do that. And having those guardrails and that accountability and that just continually being in that growth mindset is what makes all the difference in the world.
I love that. And I think I would agree completely. And that's what, like, it's difficult to quantify or explain kind of the community and ecosystem and just, the
Yeah.
willingness of people to help. And like, even just finding people, like summits coming up, right? Like the annual, Tom
Mhm.
Ferry conference, the one open to the public. So there's, thousands of people there. But like, before I even joined coaching, I went to my first summit and like, I found people and like had mastermind groups leaving that. And like,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I wasn't even in coaching, right? So it's like I had the realization of like, man, like if I were actually involved in this community, like I think I could take a lot more and give a lot more than I'm getting already, right?
Y
Um,
Yeah, it's about community and really like the rising tide raises all ships, right? Like
yeah,
the more you communicate and network and mastermind and talk with people that are all in that growth mindset and people that are honestly like, you're like, I want to be like them, right? The more you talk to those people, the faster you're going to grow. It's just like
yeah,
tracking and measuring. Like you're a big workout person like I am. Like I track every single workout. I track everything I eat. I know every single mile I've run, every single rep I've done. And because of that, it's taken me so much further than think about somebody trying to lose weight, right?
yeah.
If they never step on the scale and they never monitor it, they're never going to lose weight. If they do, it'll be temporary. If you want long lasting success, you have to have people around you that are also in that mindset. And this is silly, but I'm watching American Ninja Warrior last night with my family, right? The
Yeah.
past 2 weeks of semifinals, the 2 people competing in the power tower, the finals of the semifinals, they were both roommates and trained together. That's not coincidence.
Yeah.
It's not. When you
Yeah.
work with people that are as dedicated and as forward thinking as you, it can't help but rub off.
They're like, I know your weaknesses.
Exactly.
That's crazy though. It's funny. I always think too about like the families, like the Mannings or whatever families, right? With like
Yeah, yeah.
multiple kids in the NFL or NBA or different, um different professional sports. It's like there's something in how they train and how they grew up that's made them all this. Because like, I mean, you have families that like everyone's a little athletic, right? But like not
Yeah,
always
yeah,
that like, they all make the professional league of whatever sport. Unrelated, but okay, so you're in like Raleigh, Wake
yeah.
Forest area. Who do
Yep.
you root for as far as college basketball goes?
My wife went to Carolina, so I'm a Tar Heel.
Okay. All right.
So
Good,
I
good.
Okay. Yeah. She went to Carolina. I went to a small school in Virginia and played football in college, and then went to a place called App State, which is just a,
Yeah,
small, out in the mountains, and it's Appalachian State, not
it
Appalachian
is.
State.
Yeah.
It's Appalachian. So I
Yeah.
went there, moved here, and she went to Carolina. So that's who we root for.
Okay. That's good. Because I mean, you've obviously got a few choices. One is good, one everyone hates, and then, I feel like
Yep.
NC State, like people are just
Just kind
indifferent,
of in the
they
middle.
don't really,
Yeah.
they don't really care. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm pro UNC. I've got family, that
Okay.
went
If you were
to.
going to say Duke, my wife was going to be super upset and we'd have to end this.
No, yeah, like I'm not a psychopath. Like I thought we had kind of like rapport here, man. Like it's a little I'm a little honestly offended that you would say that, but um sorry to all those Duke fans out there that are listening that y'all suck, but
Yeah, they
um
do. Duke puke.
Duke puke. Yeah. Well, and then so my husband is from Kentucky. He went to University of Kentucky, so he also hates Duke.
Okay.
I grew up in Maryland. So my
Okay.
brother,
We're in Maryland.
father, uncles in Frederick, so they all went to College Park, right? So
Yeah.
Terrapins fans.
Terps. Oh,
I've got
yeah.
family, yeah, that all went to UNC. Some of them went to what? Oh, Wake Forest. I was like, why can't I remember?
Okay.
So like we've got like the Carolina family stuff too. So
Nice.
yeah, long as it's not Duke, all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Not
right,
Duke.
focusing back in video marketing. So like, when did you make the decision? Like, and I feel like in just like kind of looking at your content and stuff, it's like you always see a little bit of improvement, right? Like, and
Mhm.
sometimes you'll see like in anyone's content, right? Like, oh, I can tell here where they made this change and how they were doing X or Y, right? When
Yep.
did you make
Yep.
the decision of like, because if you look at your feed now, it's all video, right? Like you got a few posts, a few carousels, a few family things, few whatever, but like
Yeah.
video, 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 post, video, 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 post. When did you make that decision to go all in on video marketing?
So it was probably after Summit like 2 years ago, right? It was
Okay.
after hearing Tom like say video, video, video. I was in coaching. Like as soon as I signed up for coaching, I think the first person I like followed was Chris Kwan, right? And I was like, oh my God, like I love what he does. He's an artist, right? And then I tried to make a video just like him because I didn't know who I was yet, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of our journey too as marketers. You have to find your voice and find out who you are. And that's what I tell a lot of people I mentor too, is like you really have to find your voice, your style, your vibe. And I dabbled. Like I would do like one a week for like that first year. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And I would slowly get better. And looking back, like early days in my YouTube, I'm like, oh my God, that is so bad. But I tried. Like you got to try. But I would say it was probably 9 months ago. I walked out of Summit again, and I was like, all right, I inspired once again. But I was like, I had so many ideas. It's like, let me focus. I was like, here's what I need to do. These are the things I want to talk about. And I coach this now to a lot of my folks, as I call it the community trifecta. I was like, I need to shoot the community trifecta every week. And it's a super efficient way to shoot community-based videos. And my community trifecta is, okay, it's all about a house, a neighborhood, and a business or an amenity, like a park, coffee house, bar, brewery, whatever it is. I was like, how can I maximize my time shooting video? And I was like, all right, it's the community trifecta. So I'll go schedule a showing at a house. I'll do what you get for X and X at the house. Then I'll come outside of the house and I'll talk about the neighborhood. And then I'll go to the closest park or amenity, and then I'll shoot a quick video there. And that way I've got 3 pieces of content that are very hyper local based in the community. And I did it on one shoot with my iPhone and a gimbal. And I spent maybe 2 hours. So I was like, all right, I can efficiently do that. And once I did that, Mike, like even though I'm a coach, I still have a coach because God, you need one. Right. Or else I'd still be all over the place. Once I did that, I was like, oh my God, like I'm starting to get some traction here locally. And then I added in, like you said, some of the carousel and stuff. So I did Google local guides where I reviewed all local restaurants, which also tied back to videos I did about the restaurant. So I tried to use my video in like 3 or 4 different ways. And it just started snowballing to where the town had me be the MC for the Christmas parade kickoff party, which was super cool. I'm actually I leave Summit last year, and I was on the right before I got on the plane. The town mayor reaches out and it's like, hey, Will, we've been following you on Instagram. We want you to come be the MC for the event because we love your energy. We think you'd be great. And I was like, oh my God, that's super cool. So I've just had lots of opportunities like that. And that was like, okay, this works. I'm going all in. And I did like 90% video, and my goal is to put out 1 piece of original video content every single day. And then obviously mix in some other stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like the like, this is the video and this is what we're featuring. And then what else can I do around it? Because I feel like so often people will go shoot even a property video for one of their listings or go feature a builder's listing and whatever. And like they forget that, what other content can I create? What else is around? What else can I do while I'm already here, show ready, right? You're in the zone, you're pumped up, and then you just like shoot that 1 piece of content and leave. Like what else could you do, to better use your time for sure?
Yeah, I think, and I like the trifecta approach because if you're getting a house, you're getting a neighborhood, you're getting amenity, you're connecting with local businesses, you're connecting with that neighborhood, you're connecting maybe with that builder. Because I do a lot of new construction, so I can connect with builders. Right. Because that's a relationship you want to have, because on-site agents, unrepresented people, like that's an opportunity people I think are missing. And if you do those 3 at once, that's 3 pieces of content knocked out in 1 day in 2 hours. Like, why not? Like, why not? So it's all about efficiency. It's a trifecta. and I tell this too. It's like, they're like, well, how do I shoot this? And I'll give this perfect example. I say, pull out your phone and say, hey, what does $1 million get you in such and such neighborhood? Let's go find out. And then you do the 3-second sexy. So 3-second sexy is 3-second clips of 5 of the best features of the house. And then you do your outro. That's how you do it.
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. You go to a restaurant. What do? Intro, 3-second sexy, outro. Hey, I'm sitting in front of Black and White Coffee. They have world-renowned coffee roasters. Let's head inside and check it out. 3-second sexy 5 times. You also take 5 pictures for Google local guides because you can upload pictures. They also can go to your Google business profile. So you can then use them there, and they can go to your blog, right? So it's just a formula, and it's just rinse and repeat. Because people are like, well, how do I do this? I got to do a different video every time. No, consistency with types of content people love because they're looking forward to it, and then just becomes ingrained in their brain. So it's all about, like, it's systematic. Even though it's an art, you can systematically do it so you can maximize your time.
Well, and speaking of art, going back to your original comment of like seeing Chris Kwan's videos, the thing that I mean, I love Chris Kwan. I consider him to be a good friend. But the thing I hate about Chris Kwan is a lot of his stuff he shoots and edits himself. Right. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
how are you selling all of these homes? He recently started his team. He's like, selling a crap ton of real estate a year. And he manages to find the time to like make these high quality videos, you know, it's just even his talking head stuff. It's like there's like 7 cameras. He's zooming in and out. I'm like, I just don't have that. I don't have that creative mind. So shout out Chris Kwan.
He is like one of my all-time video heroes. So Chris, you don't know that, but you are. I edit all of my content too. I'm nowhere near on his plane, but he was like my inspiration. It's like, I can feel it. I like doing it. Like, it's creative. My coach is like, you got to outsource that. I outsourced it. I can look in my feed and I know when I outsourced it and I hated it.
So
when I took it over myself, it makes it easy.
Someone, yes and no. So someone that I would challenge you to talk to at Summit this year would be Brad McCallum.
Yeah.
Because he was spending 20 plus hours per property video on every property video because he's like, this has to be perfect and I have to do it. Right.
Well, his property videos are pretty damn perfect.
But he has a videographer now, right? And like they have
Mm-hmm.
worked hand in hand to get the videographer to edit and do the cuts as he wants them, right?
Right.
And like has been able to pass that baton, right? Like just, and I don't think that you did this, but just being like, hey, here's videos to edit and toss them off to an editor, like is never going to get you the results, that you want. So like from that creative mindset, right? And like knowing he also liked it, but it's like, he had so much business, he had to start his team and he now has like 5 agents and an entire admin staff and like all of the things, right? Like he couldn't continue to take, a full 24 hours out of 1 week, like, a full day out of a week to edit videos. So he would be one, I think, that could maybe give you some additional, because it's not like you don't already know it, but some additional ideas or tips on getting your editor to where you want them to be or an editor to where you want them to be.
Yeah. I'm definitely at that point. Like I have no more capacity, right? I coach about 30 people and, do, like 5 to 6 transactions a month and coach 30 people and shoot 7 videos a week. So it adds up. I don't know how I have the time. So I'll definitely, I'll reach
family out. Workout.
Yeah. Family workout. Well, that's why I go in 5 a.m. I know you're an early bird for working out too. So it's the only time I have time.
That's what I was gonna say is like, how do you find all the time? But I would agree, right? Like if you work out, then you have so much more time in the day. I'm
home at 6:45 a.m. workout done.
Yeah.
So it just, that's the only time you can get it done. And then everything comes back to time blocking, right? Like being really vigilant with your calendar. I know it's so basic. It's like, all right, I know I have to do this. It's 15 minutes worth of time just driving in my calendar. Like I put little snippets in there. So my wife will call me sometimes when I'm in the car. She's like, I know I could call you because I see driving on your calendar. And I know I can call you when you're driving. So that's how you know you're living by your calendar pretty hard. Like it's super important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What would be 1 or 2 or how many ever books that you would recommend someone read?
Ooh, let me look at my shelf. So I'm reading the YouTube strategy book right now, and I'm doing a mastermind with Ray and a bunch of folks. So that's what I'm really into right now, which is great. I really like depending on where people are at in their journey, right? I'm a big fan of Rich Dad, Poor Dad as well, because if you're in real estate, you've got to be investing in real estate.
And good finance mindset book, I think.
You got to have a finance because you can't all be about marketing. I have a split personality. Like when I'm not marketing, I'm thinking about finance and how I can build wealth through real estate. And I've flipped 4 or 5 properties in the past 6 months as well.
Nice.
And we just set up a short-term rental property out at the beach, out at the coast.
Selfish.
I've been doing those. A little selfish. I might use it some. But Rich Dad Poor Dad is great. I like The Compound Effect. Really short, easy read. If anybody out there, if you haven't read The Compound Effect, if you need a little mindset change and shift, it will send you on the right journey, whether it's working out, whether it's being a good husband or a good wife or a good spouse or a brother, a mother, father, son, like business person. Like being consistent and make these small incremental changes can just make a huge world of difference. So The Compound Effect is one I have a lot of my coaching clients read first. Is it's all about being consistent. Same with shooting content and marketing. You have to be consistent. So those are kind of like my 2 or 3 that I'm really into right now.
Yeah, the Compound Effect and Atomic Habits are my 2 that I feel like are always a good refresher read when I'm just like not in, if I've fallen off on the habits or whatever it may be. I feel like both of those are good like mindset shift books that are like, all right, you don't have to, change 100% overnight. Just, let's do a little bit here or there and get yourself back on the right track.
Yeah. Compound Effect's a good quick read. Atomic Habits, not so much. That one's a little bit thicker.
Yeah, I don't. Got it.
Yep. So good one. Darren Hardy. Yeah, he's great. Anything he writes is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also a big proponent. You can't just read real estate books. Like you have to look at everything else outside and try to apply it to real estate. That's where I get my best ideas.
Yeah. I would agree on that. A lot of great books out there. Cool, man. All right. I'm going to hit you with one last question. If it were your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
My last meal on earth. Well, first off, it would be with my family. So I'm a big family guy. So whatever they want to eat. But if I got to pick the food, it would definitely be sushi.
Nice.
I was vegan for a really long time. I had like some health issues and stuff. I had to be vegan, but then I went and was like, all right, I can start incorporating fish and stuff again. But man, it's like really good sushi, like not the grocery store stuff, but like really good high-end sushi,
gas station sushi.
Like, love sushi. It's the best.
Well, I have a recommendation for you then. In Dallas, look up Uchi.
Hey, I'll say it again. You were breaking up.
Sorry. Uchi, UCHI in Dallas. They've got some really good sushi.
All I heard was really good sushi.
All right. I'll tell you later then.
Okay. We're good now. Better. Quick.
Uchi, UCHI in Dallas.
UCHI. Okay. Uchi. All right. I'll hit it up.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you, Will. Thank you for spending time today, sharing more about your story and just insights and advice. If people don't already follow you, what's the best place for them to reach out?
You can find me on Instagram at Will Draper & Co. And it's that same thing on every other platform, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm super consistent across the board. So if you look that up, you'll be able to find me.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I appreciate you and we'll see you here in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Katie. See you in a couple weeks.